If you already know how to do my sew-alongs and videos, and if you'll be kind enough to watch at least one ad should it appear, which enables me to keep bringing you free content, feel free to skip ahead to go straight to the pattern spotlight. Skip ahead to the 3-minute 23-second mark. Here's a little bit about how I do my Sew With Me sew-alongs.
Techniques, I'm going to put it on the website and I will reference it in the sew-along itself. So for example, we're working on a pair of pants that has a fly front. So when we get to that portion in the sew-along, I'll do a little bit of it, in instructions in the sew-along itself, but then I'm going to refer you over to the website to go ahead and look at that video, that particular video, look it over, study it, do your own sample if you want, because I'm big on that technique binder. So go ahead and and do that, and then once you get a good hang of what that technique is, then come back onto the sew-along itself and do that particular technique with the sew-along. So that way we both kind of benefit. You still get the instruction of the actual sew-along, step by step of how to do a particular thing. But it's less editing on my part because, like I said, I'll mention it in the sew-along itself, but then I'll refer you over to the website to actually find that particular technique and go ahead, review it, look at it. And then once you master it or enough to where even so long, at the same time and install it in that particular sew-along that you're doing at that time. So hopefully that will be okay for you, because I think I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone for watching my videos. I love to upload the videos. I love to share my knowledge. And I'm pretty sure that you guys love to get free content. So in order for me to keep uploading free content, I just need you to do some simple things for me, some very simple things. The first thing is just to hit the subscribe button. So just make sure that you hit that. So you're subscribed to my channel. Hit the notification bell so when I upload a new video, you don't miss out and you get to see it. And then also, if there's an ad on my videos, they're typically anywhere from 10 seconds to maybe up to 2 minutes. Just go ahead and either watch it or do something else you want to do in those in that particular time that ad is running. So use the restroom, go get something to drink or something like that. Because that way, if you let that ad run, I benefit from YouTube, and that way I can still keep creating content and uploading it for free. Okay. Enough of that boring stuff. Back to the sew-along. Please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any uploads. Thanks again and keep on watching. All right, so starting with number 1, that is interfacing the facing. The one I'm using is 4 and 5, so I went ahead and interfaced those 2 pieces, and I just want you to know that I actually increased my width, I guess the width, by 1 inch because I like a longer face, a wider facing. So as you see, mine is interfacing. I do not interface basically the seam allowances because they tend to get chopped off, so it's a waste of materials to do that. So that's 1. So that's done. Number 2 is to reinforce where your buttonholes is going to go on pattern piece number 1. All right, so this is my pattern piece number 1, and these are my buttonholes right here. Interface it with the fusible interfacing. And on the pattern, there's only one at the top here, okay, a buttonhole. But because I did decide to go ahead and I'm going to do a casing, so I can put the drawstring through the casing. So I went ahead and did another buttonhole, and both of these are on both sides of, your pattern piece, okay?
So once you fuse the interfacing to where your buttons are, then step number 3 is to actually make the buttonholes, and that's buttonholes are made. So moving on to number 4, you're going to stitch the front sections together, basically starting at the large dart, going all the way down to the hem. Okay, now, and because we're going to open this and sure, go ahead, say hi.
Hi. Can I help you with some?
Just give me 1 second. So because we are going to open it and baste it down for the drawstring in the front, you're going to,
I have one more thing to say. It's very nice. Give a lot of likes to my mom and subscribers. Please press the subscribe button so my mom to be lucky for 200K likes and subscribers.
Thank you, baby. All right, because we are going to open it, remember I said, go ahead and serge or finish your raw edge. So I serge mine. You can serge it or zigzag it before you actually attach the front pieces together. So once you finish your raw edges, go ahead and sew basically really from the hem up to that large dot right there, and then you want to press it open. Okay, and then once you do that, we're going to create the casing for the top of that V. Okay, so it's pressed open at this point. Looking at the raw edges, you're going to sew close to the raw edges between those markings. So you should have a large and a small. So your large, of course, starts at the top, and your small is just around where that buttonhole is. Okay, so basically once you do that seam, you're going to press it open like that, and what you're going to do is sew close to the raw edge from that top large dot down to the small dot on both sides. Okay, and all that does is create a casing because you're going to slip the drawstring through. Okay, so go ahead and do that and come back. So again, we done covered steps 1 through 6. We'll do 6. So sorry. So once you do basting here, you're just gonna flip it over to the right side and use that basting stitch as a guideline to actually do a top stitch. Okay, and I usually do my top stitch at 3.0 stitch length, just so you know. So again, that is steps 1 through 6. Go ahead and do that and come back. 3, 2, 1. All right, moving on to steps 7 and 8 is making the drawstring that goes into the neckline casing. Okay, so you need pattern piece number 2. All right, and what you're going to do is fold right sides together, basically like that. You're folding the right sides together, and then from the raw edge here, you're going to sew inside 1/4 inch. Okay, so do that for both of your drawstrings. Once you have that, turn it right side out. You can use a loop turner. That's the way I do it, and I use a straw to put it inside here to make it easier to turn, in addition to the loop turner. So I use like a straw from McDonald's, one of those ones that you stir coffee in, or you can also use a tube from soap dispensers. Okay, once you finish, just take that little small tube and you can use that
It's a lifesaver. If you don't know how to do that already, I do have a video on that, so just check out the website and you'll be able to see that. So turn it right side out. Of course, give it a good press. Once you do that, you're going to insert it into your casings here. I already did one for you. As you can see, it tells you to use a safety pin. You can, most definitely. I just have this little gadget here, so I'll just use this. You just secure it to one end, push down the little lever here, kind of helps keep it in place. Press it down as much as it can go down, and it just basically acts like a safety pin. So you're just going to insert it through the buttonhole. And there we go. All right. Alrighty, so remove that. All right, so what you do now is they just have you at the top here. You see I have the long ends coming out the top. And you just want to make sure that they're even. Just bring them down. You don't need that much at the top. Flip it over so you can see. This is looking at the wrong side. About like that. You can see that much I have extended, and what you're going to do is just base those closed. So where your dot is on your front pattern at the top, you're just going to secure it by sewing a cross. Okay, and then you have your drawstring, and you can draw it up as much as you need to. Okay, and at the end you can either, you know, some people tie knots on it. You could put some glue in there and secure it that way. You could sew it closed, however you want to do it. All right, so that is 7, 8, and 9. All right, step number 10, pattern piece number 3, and which is the back pattern, and you're going to put right sides together, and you're going to sew the shoulder seams, okay, front to back. So that is step number 10. Go ahead and do that and come back. All right, so finished stitching the shoulders together, and this is right side out. And we have the little front casing with the drawstring. One thing I do notice, and I swore I lined my buttons up, but just take note of that. But it shouldn't be too much of a problem, because, you know, once you put your drawstring in and tie it, it's basically covered. So let's move on to, I believe that was through 10. Now let's do 11, which we're going to need the facing pieces, so 4 and 5, and we're going to attach them at the shoulders. Okay, go ahead and do that, and I'll finish my shoulders as well. Go ahead and do that, and then once you do that, we're going to attach it to the actual bodice. But because it's kind of a V, and I did get a request on this from an earlier video, which I thought I did, but it looks like that didn't get uploaded, so I want to actually show you how to attach the facing to the neckline when there is like a V neck on there. So first things first, get your pattern pieces 4 and 5, put them right sides together at the shoulders, and stitch them down at the 5/8 seam allowance, and then you want to finish off your raw edge of your facing So you can either finish it with a zigzag or serge, or you can even do a clean finish, which is fold under and fold under. So, you know, fold under like 1/4 of an inch, fold under again, and top stitch it. So those are your methods with that. Go ahead and do that and come back. All right, so back from the sewing machine, attached the facing at the shoulders, finished my shoulder seams, and also finished around the outside edge of the facing. Okay, so let me read you the instructions on how they tell you to attach it. And then, my dog, sorry. And then I do it a little bit different, so I'll walk you through both. So, okay, so they say pin facing to neck edge at top, basically meaning the shoulder seams, and matching centers. Stitch pivoting at the large circle, which is at the center front down here. Clip facing to large circle. Trim understitch facing as far as possible. Okay, so one thing, because it is in here that you're going to clip the facing to the large circle. Whenever you're clipping something that's on the inside, right, you have to reinforce that. So I just did, you know, about 1 inch from either side of my large circle, pivoting. I did stay stitching, which is, for me, is at a 2.0, and that's just reinforcing because you will be clipping. Now they tell you to clip later. I clip now. So what I would do is clip my facing down to that large circle, up to my stitching, but obviously not through. So that creates this opening, right? Okay, so we're going to do exactly like they say at this point. You're going to get your bodice here, and it is right sides together. All right, and orientate yourself. You know, this is the V, so that gotta go down there, right? All right, so match up your shoulder seams first, because that's just easier. Matching up your shoulder seams. I'm gonna come back and really do this neatly. I just want to show you real fast how to do this. So you match up your shoulder seams. All right, so see our shoulder seams, and then you should have, if you see there's a notch on your back bodice, and you should have a notch on your facing as well. And I don't say it all the time. I'm just thinking it's inherent, but maybe I should start saying it. Match up your notches or any markings. It just makes your life much easier. All right, so let's say we finished matching up all of that. So now the back is, you know, done. Now let's get to this front part. All right, so make sure you're still in frame. All right, so you see you do have dots on your bodice piece. Of course, you have your large dot on your facing, right? So what you want to do is match that up. Okay. And you put a pin in there. So dot, some people show you how some people do it. And it's a good method. You put it in one dot on the facing, like so, and then you take the pin and put it in the dot on your garment. So that way, you know, it matches up, right? All right, so you can do it like that. And then you want to treat it separately, because remember you did do that slit in your facing, right? Which made a V like that. So you want to treat one side separate, then you want to treat the other side separate, okay? So we're gonna move to one side. So see how I'm only working on this one side. And you basically sew it that way as well. So pin, of
course, if you have any notches, there's a notch right there. Match up your notches. And then finish that side. Then you move over to the other side. Treat them separately. Match up any notches. I have a notch somewhere here. There we go. Right there. All right. All right, now the way you're going to sew this again is separately. So starting at your dot in the middle, you're going to sew up one side, okay, all the way around till you get to the other side, okay. So again, starting at the dot, sew up one side, all the way around, come down till you meet the dot on the other side. All right, so that's one way. I typically do it that way. Another way is to reinforce that dot even more. Some people say we want to start sewing from here, from the dot on. What they do is, just like you did your reinforced stitch, starting on the other side, about 1 inch away on the other side, pivot and go up. They do that. So pivot, start on the other side, go to the dot, pivot and up. That's another way as well. So when you come all the way around, you pivot again at the dot and go up about 1 inch on the other side, and that reinforces that dot as well. All right, and a third and final method to attach it, and I do this on occasion, just depending on how I feel, I guess. So this is my second way of doing it, is starting at the dot at the center, work your way up one side, stop at center back. Okay, starting back up at the center, go up the other side, stop at center back. So that's the third way. Sometimes I do it that way, especially if I really want that V to be crisp, like it's a really formal type of garment or real expensive fabric. That is the method I do it. I start at the dot, stop at the center back, start back at the dot, and go back up the second way and stop at the center back. When it's, you know, like a t-shirt, you know, or something that's not so, you know, that it has to be precise, you know, then I'll just start at the dot, go all the way around, stop back at the dot. So those are my two methods that I preferably do. All right, everybody, go ahead and attach your facing to your bodice there. And so that's how you sew your V. It's at 5/8, so go ahead and sew that at 5/8. You want to clip down your seam allowance to about, no, sorry, don't clip it first. We're going to understitch it. So once you sew it at 5/8, I want you to understitch it. Basically, all that means is putting your seam allowance, so you flip out your facing away from the garment, making sure that your seam allowance is under your facing. And then you're going to sew close to your previous stitch line that you just made when we do this, when you attach the facing to the garment. You're going to sew close to that seam line, but on the facing side, ensuring that you're attaching the seam allowance to the facing. Okay, and that's called understitching. Again, if you need reference to that, I do have a free video series on that. So
if you made this pattern or intend to, or if you're going to follow along with me, please let me know in the comments. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content. Thanks again for watching, and happy sewing.